Yes,
because then you have a nice big chunk of the populace that actually has been gearing up toward this, has been heading toward this, and they're just easing their way into it and finding their place, you know. But then you have the people that it's taken them by surprise, which sad to say is a bigger chunk.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, and as a social anthropologist, I just see that, you know, throughout history, it's always been the feminine cultures that have been, you know, attacked and
Yes.
subjugated for the male gods, and the shift is going now not back but up toward the feminine, because it is the feminine, the creative, you know, that brings a place for men, particularly for men, that brings about their full power in a benign way, which is you know, fits in with nature and for the species and for everything else. So there's a concordance with nature and the linking to nature. So we have much to learn in the West, the most to learn from our brothers and sisters who we've been trying to destroy for all time. And I think this reversal now is so particular. It's so particular as we watch all the great monuments of the West starting to fall and to not be in any way, you know, life-giving. We come back always to our roots, and it's the root people that hold the answers. And I think this is why I so enjoyed this exchange with you, and why I keep going back to the Palestinians have the answer. You know, in their culture, it is benign, you know, and life supporting, when all around them is nothing except violence and oppression.
Aggression. Exactly.
Absolutely. And I know my Israeli friends and students will be watching this too, and who cry bitter tears because of the situation that they can't participate in, and yet at the same time they make circle in their festivals, and in their comings together for peace. Their prayers, their actions are absolutely beautiful, and I want to just mention them because they never get mentioned, and there are millions of them that are held by their regime. So it's happening, and that's why I think
Yes,
it's
but you
lovely.
know, I like to think of it not so much as a reversal, but as growth.
Yeah.
Because you know, when we think of a circle, we have to always remember
Mm.
that we're not going in circles. We are spiraling. And so when we come back to that quote beginning point, because all that has happened for a reason.
Mm.
You know, even in Hawaii, we start off with the female, and you know, her temple is up on the top of the hill, and the male temple is down at the bottom.
Right.
And that's just
Exactly.
like a reality check, you know. But it's that understanding, and you know, when as a woman, the ability to create life and your responsibility, the
Wow.
kuleana toward that life, and creating everything that is needed for that life to happen, including the hard lessons, including the growth. You know, humanity will not get to where we're headed had all these other things not happened.
Yes.
And the thing is that, you
Great.
know, where there's hurt and where there has been such adverse situations,
Mm.
people don't easily forget and want to move on, because until they feel they've healed, they're not going to move on. And for some people, that healing is like it's retaliation.
Right.
And so that is what kind of sustains the aggression these days. You know,
Yes.
it's still the need for retaliation.
Right.
It's like there's no need for dominance. And so, you know, all the preachings of love, of forgiveness,
Mm.
a lot of it is actually toward ourselves.
Sure.
Can we forgive ourselves for not being able to move on when we really realize that everybody's in the same boat, and I depend on on that person there, that I despise their actions, but I cannot move on until they move on. And
Right.
as long as I have any kind of resentment or hostility, I'm holding myself back because I'm not helping them to move forward.
Absolutely.
And it seems like a catch-22, but
No.
I believe that's what Christ taught. It's like it's similar. But it's understanding how connected we are, because everywhere we look from when we are born, there are lines that are divisive.
Sure. That's right.
On every level. I mean, cultural lines can also be something that can be negative.
Absolutely.
And I do see that in Hawaii. I see so much hurt and so much unwillingness to forgive sometimes, because and as long as that's there, we're not going to move on.
That's right.
And so, we need to keep reiterating that this is part of the growth process. And we don't have to like it.
Right.
But we do need to release it in order to move on. Yeah.
No, I think this question of forgiveness is, it's at the bottom of all the wars for 10,000 years. I mean, I know I was caught in the war in Yugoslavia, three-sided war, and it started with everyone saying, you remember the Turks kicked your butt 300 years ago, and it's like, I don't even, so all of that was going on, and all of these wars is this the vengeance for blood, the need for blood, the need to balance the books, as if it balances the books at all. And the amazing thing is, as you forgive, as one forgives, there's mostly a profound sense of disturbance inside of oneself. It's disturbing, and it disturbs the ego position. So the ego, which takes a position, it goes, screw you, you did this to me, and and it kind of polishes, keeps polishing this thing that it's going to have vengeance on. I remember when I was a little boy, it was a ridiculous story, actually, that a kid put a snowball down my back. And I said, well, I'm going to get my own back. And I made a snowball, and I put his name, his initials in the snowball, and I kept it in my mother's freezer till August. And then I hunted him down with this snowball. Now I was 9 at the time, I think, so 8 or 9, but it was already a program within me. And I found myself now, 2 times in the middle of a war in Palestine, when we were being attacked in Jenin, in Yugoslavia, and the need I saw personally to forgive. It's absolutely profound. And I'm glad that I was crushed, because without the crushing, I couldn't be intelligent. I would be clever, but not intelligent. And I think here's the difference for me from my point of view. And that's why I feel that ethnic people or roots people have that profound intelligence of the earth, of nature, that we've lost in the West. We're very singular in the West. And I think
I think indigenous people are more collectives. It's like, you do things for the collective rather than the individual. So for those of us, for example, myself, I was raised totally with a Western schooling and everything. And so it has been my personal quest to decolonize and to get back to what are my true views on this. Am I doing this just because I was taught that this is how you do it? But I'm at a point where it no longer resonates in me. And so I'm very, very, what is the right word? I'm very meticulous now, because I have seen myself grow, and I know that it's the right direction.
Yeah.
But I also know that those teachings and the things instilled in me run deep. I believe it's even a matter of cell memory, and I believe that that's why the focus and the attention on the now is what allows us to change our DNA and release that cell memory, because we can reconstruct.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely. But maybe that's what the circle is. for people who don't have that cell memory, or have been cut off or been maligned and hit so hard that they no longer know their roots anymore. The roots have been cut from them. What I found lovely, and I wanted to share this with you at this point, is that when people and I, as a pagan, sit in circle, when we connect with our brothers and sisters, just do something out of sheer courtesy, just out of love, out of our hearts. Not only do we get the prize, there's a connection. Suddenly, there is a brotherhood and there's a sisterhood, which is so delightful. I know in my street, for instance, since the lockdown happened at the beginning of the year, people are saying hello to me, never said hello in 15 years. I mean, this is London, and it's incredible. And I find that beautiful, really beautiful, because, I go to Palestine when I can, just to feel some humanity. I don't feel it in London. So here's the point. And I absolutely honor what you're saying, and that this should spread as a, I mean, I'm a hippie, and definitely in the times of the hippies, it was, we share everything. We sit around and we share, and it's a beautiful thing.
It definitely is. And I think that, as we gather,
Yeah.
For us, when people come and ask me, there have been so many people that I have told, well, this is what you do. You breathe, you drink water, and you sit down on the ground. And in Hawaii, it's easy to take your shoes off because it's not freezing cold.
Right.
But that direct contact
Yeah.
to the earth itself makes a huge difference. And then the things that seem to bring people together are not fancy material things. Right. They can be the simplest thing, like sharing a meal, sharing a cup of tea, and not an elaborate meal or nothing, it just whatever right. There is, but also the coming together of people of like mind. It helps you to, because in this kind of time of transition, we all have those kind of conflicts inside of us, because we've had all these things instilled in us. No matter how much we might identify with our indigenousness, we have those other things. And so as we're sifting and discarding, all of that leaves us in a very vulnerable state. And we have been taught that it's not good to be vulnerable. You have to be strong. And and so all the things, those very kinds of things, it's like, it's so okay to cry.
Yes.
And even greater to find yourself in a safe space where you're later almost embarrassed because you had an outburst, right. But to feel the compassion and the love of those around you in that safe space is like, okay,
yeah,
will that happen again? And so people begin to seek out those safe spaces and seek out those people, because that is not, some people have not yet come across any of that.
Right. Absolutely.
And there is a need for us to reach out. And there is a need for us to talk about it, so that we realize that, what, we're all going through the same process, maybe different culture, different physical landscape,
right.
Different language.
Yeah.
But it's so exciting that this is all happening concurrently.
Right. That's right. Absolutely.
There is not one culture that owns it and dominates it and says, okay, well, we're doing this and we're going to show the rest of the world how it's done. It's happening spontaneously all over.
It's so beautiful.
And that is the beauty of it.
That's right.
And that is how we know that that's the way it's going to go. Everything in the past was top down.
Right.
This is literally bottom up. It's a grassroots, literally from the earth, not even from the person. First from Mother Earth.
That's it.
And then moving upward and individually outward.
That's so. Yeah. I just want to, and we're as strong as our weakest link. And
we are.
Yeah.
And it's our duty to take good care of that weak link
Yes.
and to give them, because whatever in their nurturing and their learning they didn't get,
Mm.
we need to do that.
What would
And we
your
need to
message be?
provide that.
You're absolutely right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, my
Oh,
love.
no.
I'm just so excited about our conversation. I love this, and I could talk forever with you. So blessings. But what would your message be to our world leaders, to the guys and the women who are in charge? I know this is a loaded question, but if you had a message that you want to pass on to them, what would it be?
Wow.
I told you it was loaded.
I would ask them to pray, to remember,
Mhm.
because they, I think it's easier for them to forget and to not go there.
Mhm.
But when you open yourself up to prayer, and it's not a specific religious prayer,
Mhm.
it's more setting out your vibration that you need to know the truth and to try to find the space of truth. Um, I think that's what I would tell them,
Yes.
you know, to remember, because no matter how westernized and how civilized and how rational you believe you are, your cells, your very body, the matter that makes up your cells, at one point or another was indigenous.
Yes.
And you might not identify with any of the ones around you, or the ones that are in the limelight right now, but you as an individual have a relationship with our planet and with Mother Earth.
Right.
And you have to go back to that.
Yes.
So like for me, when Christ said, you must be childlike and
Mm. Beautiful.
sometimes it's remembering, what were the simple things you did as a child,
Yes.
you know because if you look at a mother with a house full of children,
Right.
how would that mother take care of their children?
Mm.
you know and it always has been, if you have that many kids, you have the older ones helping out with the younger ones, and yet the mother knew at all times what was happening with everyone.
Right. That's right.
But as far as politics, and the world leaders, we have all kinds of leaders in the world too,
Yes. That's
you
right.
know and some of them already know how to pray, but aggression has never been the answer, has never brought us forward.
No.
And so, because, like, I belong to the LDS church, and there's a lot of contentious people who are of other Christian religions
Yeah.
who just knock us, and we are taught to avoid contention and seek commonality.
That's right. Beautiful.
and and I find I have common things with everybody.
Yes.
From the people in Palestine to the people at the chicken fight in Thailand, to somebody who's our elders here in Hawaii, and then I go to Canada, and they treat me like their own, and I'm so moved
Yes.
and touched by that,
That,
because it's like they don't even know me. And they told me, but we know who you are, and we know
mm,
what you do. And when we start teaching and allowing ourselves to tap into that communal mindset, the universal mindset,
mm,
as we seek universal truth, we all end up in the same place.
right.
And that's the familiar, that becomes the familiar that binds us together.
Yes.
you know
So,
Simple things like
right.
water,
That's
sustainability,
yes.
food,
Taking a breath.
and a breath of clean air.
That's it.